Let me give you a test that most business owners fail and they don't even realize that they're failing it. Imagine that you disappear tomorrow. So not as a dramatic thing, just, you're unavailable. Maybe you have an emergency, but it means no email, no Slack, no phone, no quick questions, no approvals, no stepping in to fix things, just gone. You're not available. Here's the question. How long would your business keep running before something important breaks? And I don't mean could my staff open the doors or get things running. Could the business continue delivering value, keeping customers happy, and making money without you being involved in anything at all? Because if the answer is not long, then what you have isn't a business in a real sense. It's a system of work that depends on one person, and that person is you. In other words, you have a job. Now, in this video, I want to talk about why that happens, why it's so common, and most importantly, what you can build instead. Because the whole point of owning a business is freedom, right? And if the business can't run without you, then you didn't really create freedom, but you created responsibility. That basically means you created yourself a job, right? So now let's break it down. Here's what most business owners don't want to admit. The business isn't dependent on you because you're so brilliant. It's dependent on you because the business was never designed to operate without you. In the early days, being involved in everything feels normal. You're doing sales, you're doing delivery, support, marketing, operations, because really, frankly, you have to, right? And that's what starting a business basically looks like. But then the business grows and you keep operating in the same way. You keep being the decision maker. You keep being the person who's fixing everything. You keep being the person who holds everything together. And the result is a business that looks successful, but is structurally very fragile. It's basically like a building held up by only one pillar. And as long as that pillar is there, okay, cool, everything stands. But if you remove it, then things start collapsing, right? And that's what we call founder dependency. And it turns business ownership into a never-ending obligation. It's basically a job that you got to be switched on 24/7. You can't really fully relax. You can't fully disconnect. You can't step away without worrying. And that's not a personality problem. It's simply a system problem. It's a design problem, right? So let's talk about how a business looks like when it's not designed that way, right? A real business, it's not you plus a bunch of helpers. A real business needs to operate like a machine. And a machine has three things. It has a process that creates results, it has people who run those processes, and it has feedback loops so you can improve the process. That's basically it in a nutshell, right? But if any of those three are missing, then the business becomes dependent on the founder. And that's the part that most business owners don't really understand because they think the solution is, okay, hire more people. I need somebody to do those things, right? But hiring more people without processes will just give you more coordination, more mistakes, more questions, and ultimately more stress for you as the owner. So the goal of business is not just simply building a bigger team. The goal is to build a business that produces results consistently, even when you're not holding it by the throat, right? So how do you get there? You build free systems, and these systems apply to every business, no matter what industry you're in. So let's talk about the free systems that will remove you as the bottleneck. System number one is basically a system that allows work to move without you. That's the simple way to describe it. Work should move throughout your company without you pushing it. Because most businesses rely on the founder as basically the human glue, right? The founder is the one who reminds people, assigns tasks in Asana or ClickUp or whatever you're using. You check progress, you follow up, you fix miscommunication, you resolve bottlenecks and problems, and so on, right? So if you're doing that, then basically you're the project management system. But a real sort of work should move without you, which means that everyone knows what happens next, even if you don't tell them. Everyone knows what the priorities are. Everyone knows how to track progress. And if something gets stuck, it gets escalated in a clear way, not by pulling you into everything or a quick question on Slack, right? Or shoulder tap. And this can be as simple as weekly planning rhythm, a single project board, clear stages, clear owners, and a rule that says if something is blocked, it goes here. This is what happens, right? The tools don't really matter. It doesn't really matter what you're using. The structure is what's important because once work moves without you, your brain is no longer the engine. Your brain is then used to basically lead the company, right? You can focus on strategy. The second system that every business needs is customer experience running on its own. Now that one is massive because most founder dependency usually comes from customers or clients, right? They ask questions, customers need updates, they get confused, they complain, and guess who gets pulled in? You, the founder, right? Even if you have staff, because customers don't trust the business. They quite often trust you. So the goal is to make the customer experience so clear and structured that trust is built into the process and not into your personality. And that looks, the customer always knows what happens next. The business communicates proactively. The standards are consistent. The process is predictable. So instead of your customers feeling like, I hope they don't forget about me, and is this thing really moving forward? I think I should check up on what's going on and so on. They feel like, yep, this is organized, this is professional. I can see the process. I know exactly what's happening and what I can expect and so on. And when the customer experience is systemized, then the business doesn't need your constant reassurance, right? And you don't get pulled into fixing little things that usually happen all the time when you're serving clients or customers, right? And this is where a lot of small businesses accidentally fail. They'll deliver great results, but the delivery feels chaotic. And that forces the founder to stay involved, right? Like you might be good at what you do and you can deliver a good result for your clients or customers, but because it's not systemized, you're forced to be involved in that process and you just can't see a way out, right? Now, if you fix customers' experience structure, you remove a huge amount of founder independence inside your business. And the third system is what I call ownership and accountability. Basically, and the third system is a ownership and accountability system. And that's the most important one, because even with processes, if your team still thinks like employees waiting for instructions, then the business will always depend on you. You need people who own outcomes, not just tasks. And it's your job to make that happen in your business. You can't blame your team members for not understanding or creating this type of environment on their own proactively. That's the job of the business owner. So here's how task ownership sounds. Okay, tell me what to do. I'm the employee. I log in the morning. I check the project management tool, and I just do whatever's there assigned by you, the owner, for that. But outcome ownership sounds something like this. Okay, this result is mine. Here's what I'm doing. Here's what's blocked, and here's how I'm fixing it. This is how your team starts thinking when they own outcomes and not tasks. Now, the question, of course, is how do you create that? Here's a simple way. You give every important part of the business an owner. You give them a measurable target and a weekly check-in via a scorecard or something similar, right? So you don't have to micromanage. What you actually need is clarity. Because when ownership over outcomes is vague and it's not clear who's responsible for what, then work falls back onto the founder by default, because ultimately you're responsible for the business success. And if you didn't successfully delegate the outcomes of each individual core functions, things will always fall on your lap. And then you're wearing 10 different hats and wondering like, where does it get easier? But when ownership is clear, then people stop escalating everything and they start solving the problems inside their little department, right? And that's how you stop being the bottleneck. So now here's the part that I want to emphasize. It's not about becoming lazy and you don't have to work or passive income or anything like that. It's not about never working. It's not about 4-hour work weeks. It's about building something real, a systematic business machine, because a business that can't function without the founder is not just stressful, but it's also fragile. It's very risky, right? Because just think, if something happens to you, if you have an emergency and maybe your family depends on the income from the business, what happens if you can't work for a month or 2 months, right? Or a family member has an emergency and you have to step away. Will the income suffer or are you still good? Well, that's a big problem. So that means you have a fragile business. And the second part is the fragile businesses don't really scale, right? They can't survive shocks, like I mentioned. They're hard to sell, if not even impossible to sell if they depend on the founder too much. They're hard to delegate. They're hard to grow. It's just not very good. It's just not a good situation. But a business with systems has options. You can step away. You can hire people on demand, no problem. You're not scared of hiring new people because you already anticipate like too much work with training and onboarding them and so on. You can expand. You can sell if you want for a way higher multiple, or you can simply work less while earning more. And it's not a dream. It's what businesses are supposed to become. So again, here's the question. If you disappeared tomorrow, or if you had an emergency, how long would the business keep running and producing the income that maybe your family relies on? And if your answer makes you uncomfortable, or if you get stressed out just thinking about it and you hope nothing bad will happen, that's good, because that's awareness, right? Because now you can fix it. Like, you don't want to just keep running your business and not think about the things that can potentially destroy it. So now it's your job to fix it. And again, you don't fix founder dependency with motivation or more hacks or tactics or AI or whatever. You fix it by designing your business like a machine. That means you start with the free systems that I mentioned. a system that enables work to move without you through the company, a system that enables customer experience to run without you, and a team that owns outcomes without you. Once you have those three core pillars, you finally get the things that the business was supposed to give you, and that's freedom and scalability.